Okay. Looks like we're back, hopefully. Hey, Nanbot. Thank you again for the 50 earlier. I don't know if I got to properly thank you, but I appreciate that a ton. Hope you know. Gotta start showering, etc. for work, but I'll be listening. Good, good. Well, we'll be sitting here chatting. Will be your entertainment for your drive out. How's that sound? You know there are 1.5 million cicadas per acre. You were surrounded. I don't know if I'm surrounded by cicadas necessarily. That's probably not what's sounding at this time of night, honestly. $1.5 million tiny peeing, screaming F-bots per acre. Yep. That's pretty much the life of a cicada, though. And you can't really blame them because they can't really help it, you know? Like, the cicada cannot help that is its lot in life. Hello, Batty. Hello, Mira. You government. Not particularly. Not mine. As an American. Not the most fond, I will admit. But this is so nice. I love sitting by a fire at night. Hey Phoebe, are you in the nude? Are you in the woods? I don't know why I was about to pronounce that like nudes. Are you in the woods? Kind of. I mean, I kind of live in the country, so basically. Are you camping in Ignar's backyard? No, I'm not camping in Ignar's backyard. Tempting as that may be, he's a bit far away. You are dumb ass a Russia communists. Just imagine being that person. Whatever else may be going on in your life, no matter how badly you may have typed your comment, you didn't say, you are dumb ass a Russia communists. Is that a joint? Wouldn't you like to know, Weather Boy? Hi, how you doing? I am excellent, especially sitting out here as I am with this fire. Enjoying the elegant and delicate pleasures of a well-tended hearth, I have to say. It's almost my idea of heaven. Cheers to that. Why am I Weather Boy? It's just a meme. It's just a meme. I can't confirm or deny that on a YouTube stream, so I just have to come up with a funny meme response. You look gay? How would you even know is what I want to know. You can't even tell that I'm sitting in here in a dress right now. Like, literally, I am lit up only by firelight. What can you see? Do you love Gid? Who is Gid? Bro got tired of the yellow teeth comments. He started streaming in the dark now. Number one, she, disrespectful little prick. And number two, I didn't decide to come out here and stream next to a fire because I got sick of the tooth complaints. It's because my audience paid me over $100 to come and do it. You're a girl? Yeah. How's the Middle East thinking about gays? I don't know. Probably pretty bigoted considering the influence of Islamic theocracies, but what are you bringing that up for? What are you trying to justify the atrocities against the Palestinians? Because if so, I would advise each and every person watching this to go watch Professor Dave and his latest video, which is about destiny. Well, one of his latest videos is about destiny. It's called Destiny Loves Genocide. And Professor Dave will catch you up to speed about all of the oppressive shit that the Israeli regime has been getting up to with its neighbors and with the people living within what is ostensibly its own borders. And no amount of Palestinian bigotry is ever going to make me think it's okay to slaughter their babies en masse. If you cannot look into the eyes of a Gazan child and see your own child, you're a monster. You're a human zombie if you can't look at a Gazan child, starving, destitute, barely surviving the rubble, and not see your own kid's eyes staring back at you. Oh, for just one night, I would take the Northwest Passage to find the hand of Franklin reaching for the Beaufort Sea, tracing one warm line through this land so wild and savage, and find the Northwest Passage to the sea. Oh, your dad's forgiven you, Perseus? That's good. All is right in the world now? That's good to know, yeah. Good to know that you'll still be able to inherit the family yacht when the time comes around. I worried about that, you know. How am I ever going to get rides if you never even inherit it in the first place, after all? What's your pronouns? I don't want to be rude. She, her, hers. Punching bigots is always pleasing. Punching bigots is a allowed activity under certain conditions, which could include if your life is in danger. Rodney Coronado was arrested just last week for a speech he made on the San Diego beach. He went up there out loud, got up there and spoke his mind. Now they want to lock him up till 2029. The prosecutor said the problem, it was intent, but couldn't understand exactly what he meant. But we don't like the Walmart and we're gonna burn it down. Corporate terrorists, run 'em out of town. We'll bring a jug of gasoline, pour it on the floor, light a match, say a prayer, and run right out the door. Burn it down, burn it down, burn it down, burn it down. We're going to burn it down. Burn it down, burn it down, burn it down, burn it down. Oh, we don't like those condos and we're gonna burn them down. Corporate terrorists, run them out of town. Anyway, just checked in to say hi. I gotta go. Good, Perseus. Well, I'm glad you checked in to say hi. I'm always happy to see you. I'm always afraid you've grown sick of my channel and decided to watch some other lefty YouTuber creator. And then me and them would have to have a battle to the death to see which one of us you would actually go with in the end. If you enjoy content like this, consider set it up for a membership. That helps a lot. It's monthly support for a very low cost, and you get to participate in the hour-long or more worth of live chat that is just for members only. Anyone in the public can watch, but if you want to participate in the chat after we've been streaming for an hour, you got to be a member. So I just want to let people know about that. It's not a universal rule, but I always let people know if that's the way it's going to work. I think I've seen this movie before. Have you? I don't really think anything that exciting tonight is going to happen, except maybe, maybe somebody will be able to rage bait me again or something. Smoking a blunt or a cigarette? Let that be your answer. Consider which way a nod goes if you ask someone something, and let this be my answer. I knew you were my kind of person when you reacted with a meme. Hell yeah. Good to know, Tiny Desu. Tiny Desu. Very weeb name, I give you. Oh God. Bye, I give up. Okay. Well, your name is Roblox a question, so okay. Probably a kid anyway. I am an embryo on the scale of a human lifespan. Would you like my political opinions? It's like, sure, champ. What do you got rolling around up there? Although, credit to the children. Children will figure out communism on their own, given the resources. And a sufficiently positive raising. And in fact, such impulses have to be trained out of people. What's with those screams? I have chickens. That's all you're hearing is just chickens. They are sounding awful lot, though. Hey, if you ever got a duel, I volunteer to be your champion, so I get to do whatever I do best. Hey, I'll remember that if the opportunity ever comes up, Jess. Oh, Jess, did you hear? I'm coming up to your neck of the woods. Are you in Seattle or Portland, Jess? There is actually no turkey, at least not a domestic one, although we do have a mother hen and a few of her poults nesting very, very, very close to where I'm sitting. Not like so close that I'm disturbing anything, but she's got to be nesting within 50 yards of this location because I constantly see her perusing our compost pile, for example, and I'll see her kind of looking under some of the mass-producing trees sometimes. Did you get rid of the turkey? Oh yeah, turkey's been gone for a long time. The domestic turkey that we had, yeah, that turkey got super fucking aggressive. And we actually got rid of that turkey around the time that my, you know, like a few weeks before my ex gave birth, because like they were pregnant and they still wanted to do stuff around the farm to stay active and stuff. And I was fine with that, especially if I could do it with them and everything. But like, God, that turkey got so aggressive that I just didn't trust that to work out long term. So that turkey got sold. I'm coming to Seattle, Jess. I'm going to be taking a train ride across the entire U.S. to go to the Deep Fat Fried meetup later this year in early December. I hear a female screaming. That is a rooster, my friend. Motherfucker, you seriously gonna sit here and tell me you don't know what a goddamn rooster is? I don't buy it. Okay, well, I got extra kit if you feel you need it. Well, you know what? I mean, it might just be fun to hang out, you know? And you said something about feeding me, and I ain't gonna say no to that, neither. Some will win, some will lose. Some are born to sing the blues. Something, 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 something goes on and on and on and on. Don't stop bleeding. Hold on to that feeling. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Alrighty. Should be all the fire trolling we need for a minute. And somehow I kept my blunt lit that whole time. Can somebody ban Toothless Prophet? I'm sick of seeing their ass in chat. Sick and tired of people who just nag. Got nothing but negative energy. Got nothing but negative implications. Got nothing but being a piece of shit. There's nothing objectionable happening in this live stream. Yeah, for future record, anytime somebody intimates that I'm committing fucking murder, go ahead and ban them. Or any other capital crime. Trust me, if I'm ever fucking guilty of some capital crime, you'll be finding out because my stupid ass got caught doing it. You'll find out on the news, and you will not be finding out through my fucking live chat. So yeah, next time you see some shit like that, if you just, you know, if you happen to see it, feel free to just... I got affiliate on Twitch. That's awesome, Jess. That's great. That's fucking great. You said something about co-streaming on Twitch. I don't do Twitch streams, but maybe I could do like a stream to YouTube and you could do a stream to Twitch or something. I would just have to censor myself a little bit. Toothless was doing okay earlier. Not sure what changed. I don't know either, but I'm sick to death of seeing their ass. Everything they've said for the last 20 minutes has been nothing but like derisive, distractive bullshit, like main character type shit. I think that they were one of those trolls that was going to try the nice buddy troll method first, and then when that didn't work out, they tried the aggressive concern troll method. That is so awesome though. I'm celebrating I just reached 2,000 subs and 1.8 million views. That's good. That's awesome. Just, yeah, like at this point, whatever you're doing, just keep doing that and expanding your offerings or like refining your offerings, and the growth will be nothing but positive till things change. That's the other thing I would tell up and coming creators. I didn't think about this the other day when someone was asking me for advice, and congratulations, by the way. But another thing I would tell up and coming creators is like, be adaptable. Like at some point, this vertical live streaming thing might stop being a viable method for me to farm new subscribers with. And so I might have to switch to exclusively scripting and uploading videos, or I might have to find some other niche entirely. Maybe YouTube will do some new feature that I excel in that region or whatever. But I feel like that's the best thing I could say, is just be adaptable. Because like all the most successful channels have a number of live streams that they've done, unless they do streaming as a main thing, and a ton of videos, and then a shit ton of shorts. Oftentimes they're on multiple different platforms. Sometimes you can get them audio only, because it's like the more avenues by which you give a person to consume your content, the more likely they are to consume it. Yeah, no, I live in the American Southeast. I game FPS mostly, so I'm talking about my work. That'd be cool. We could definitely talk about that, and I could introduce my viewers to what exactly you do, and talk about how important that is as a trans content creator that makes content in the Deep South. Because I feel like that affords me like a unique perspective, you know? All proceeds made from streaming does go to support my work though, so either way it's a good thing. Yeah, for sure. I forgot I had liquor. Ow! Oh my, you in the deep south being Dutch, I can only imagine. Wait a minute. Your name isn't Ilse, is it? Well, I guess if it is, I guess I'm kind of doxing you. So sorry. That was awful. What is it like? I've never been out of the United States. I've been all over the US, but I've never been outside of this country. And as a result, it is very difficult for me to accurately compare it, or to feel like I'm accurately comparing it to other countries and other experiences with like a high degree of accuracy. So I will try my best. It's a pretty oppressive place for anybody that isn't, you know, straight, cisgender, white, but not in some of the ways that you see in historical dramas about the South, in not even necessarily in the ways that you might think of when you see a fight going on that involves like a racist element that comes out of the Deep South on public freakouts or actual freakouts or whatever. It's a much deeper, more ingrained and unspoken form of bigotry that makes it, I think, so difficult and stressful for people of all different kinds of marginalized communities to live down here long term. It's not that trans people are banned from getting a job in my state, for example, but there's only been like 3 or 4 places in my local area that have ever been willing to even give me a shot, despite how many times I've tried. And I've just had different success in other places. And luckily now I don't really need that because I do this for a living, and thankfully my audience pays pretty richly for me to be able to produce content full time. But if left to my own devices and I had to try and either make a living here or leave, I don't know, you know? Part of me feels like if I didn't have like this going for me and it was just a matter of trying to make things work down here with what income I would be able to make with the kind of jobs I'd be able to get, I think I'd just leave and go somewhere else and try to restart my life in a better state, honestly. Because like there's the element of consistent kind of like the undercurrent of oppression, but then there's also just the fact that economically, kind of no matter who you are, economically it sucks down here. There's just not much going on. I'm the first person in USA to sell cannabis legally, and I could do that if I was allowed as one of the homeless. Say wallahi. You serious, James? Because that's like a stoner fucking tragedy, if that's true. I might need to start a GoFundMe for your ass if that's true. Or something. I would need 14 grand in California. God damn. No, for the license fucking fee? Is that like to set up a whole operation, or is that just to get the damn license? Because that, I mean, fuck. I mean, that sounds cheap if it's to set up the whole operation, but that sounds goddamn expensive if that's for the fucking license fee. Greetings from Reno. Hey, thank you, Navert. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a ton. Thank you for the $4.99. The license costs $14,000 in California. That's fucking retarded. Oh, that's one of those things that's going to have to be capped with federal legislation once we fully legalize in this country. I fully believe that needs to be capped at like $500 to $1,000. Needs to be capped around the rate that any other business license is given away at. Because you know what? There's no fucking harm. There's no more harm to letting a dispensary exist than there is to letting a liquor store exist. And a liquor license don't cost no goddamn $14,000. I guarantee you, even in California. I guarantee you, an off-premises sale license is not fucking $14,000. But it is if you're a cannabis dealer. That's fucking retarded. Man, I'm glad you told me about that, James. I'm gonna look into this shit, and I might do a stream about it or something. I'm glad you told me about that. Man, that's the type of shit that libertarians are talking about, that they have a point when they say we need to cut regulation. When they're talking about exorbitant license fees that are only meant to impose some moral inconvenience on people or meant to stifle competition, yes. Cut that. Get it out. Get rid of it. Done. Be done with it. I would try to get them to sell me one license for every homeless person in California. Now that might be a bit of a stretch. Why do you say only homeless people can export it though? I think I get your logic. It's because many homeless people have out-of-state IDs, or because they are transient, would not necessarily be considered residents of whatever ID or whatever state is on their ID. They would probably be considered transient residents of whatever state they're picked up in. So is the idea that California could basically skirt around the federal regulations around the interstate commerce of cannabis by issuing homeless people distribution licenses? I don't know. I feel like that would still come back on California pretty heavy. I don't know. Maybe you can explain it to me a little better. Liberalism is dead, ain't it? No. Don't let Bosch tell you that, Daini Desu. Don't let people like Bosch and others tell you that democracy is dead, okay? Democracy did not die in Germany because Hitler came to power. It maybe passed out for a while. It was definitely beaten into submission for a bit. But, like all fascist movements, the German Reich eventually collapsed under its own weight and through the massive power of the Allies. Thank you, Britain, Russia, and France, and China. And we played our part. And just as fascism... Now I wonder why the pigs are squealing like that. Anyway, just as fascism was defeated in Nazi Germany, I firmly believe that the fascism we're dealing with right now can and will be defeated. I think it's going to be defeated electorally this year, regardless of whatever shenanigans the Republicans try. The vibes are just not there for the Republicans, and I'll tell you how I know. Because I listen to this channel called The Line, and they do a lot of call-in based content. They do a lot of call-in based content where the whole idea of the stream... God damn, I wish they'd shut up. Turning out to be a worse idea than I thought. Anyway, fuck, where was I? Why are they upsetty? I don't know. They're probably just like waking up and playing around and shit. None of them sounded like screaming like they were hurt. They get a lot louder when they're actually hurt or, you know, stuck in something or whatever. I think that was probably just play, but I forget how active animals get, and as early in the morning they do become active. Anyway, fuck, I'm trying to remember where I was. I am way too curious. No, you're fine. It's probably because they just want... Well, no, you know what? They're not anywhere near used to having me feed them quite this early, so... I'm going to say it's not that they're expecting a food. They're probably just playing, and I'm usually not outside and around at this time to hear them doing it. That's the explanation I'm going with. Anyway, so I think I remember where I was going. Democracy is not dead. It's just that a lot of people are finding it harder and harder to believe in the proposition when they see more and more of the systems that are meant to keep it upheld seemingly failing around them. And I think that they're right to notice that, and they're right to look for alternative solutions in some cases. But the idea that democracy is dead implies that the idea is no longer fundamentally valued because of the material conditions of our world, and I don't think that that's true. I think that democracy is... I don't think democracy can be dead, because I think maybe it's true to a degree, because it is dependent on the material conditions. For example, democracy could not exist in Nazi Germany because Nazi Germany was there, but that is what emerged, right? Eventually. And it's what seems to emerge in most societies as they become more enlightened, more literate, more educated. People want to have more autonomy. They want to have more of a say in how their lives are ran. And that, like, naturally leads to more people wanting to engage in a big-scale democratic project. When are you coming up to my neck of the woods? Early December. I believe the Deep Fat Fried meetup is December 4th. You know, Jess, I would love to drag you to that meetup, but I don't know if it would be your thing. I think it might be, honestly. I think you would really like the rhetoric that comes out of the people there. And I think you would like the fucking attitude and the punk rock fucking grungy ass nature of the absolute banger party that is a Deep Fat Fried meetup. But at the same time, I don't want to like pressure you into that or anything. I just kind of think, you know, boy, that'd be neat, you know? My social battery is minimal, hon. Yeah, no, I understand that. I do hope that I get a few of my fans to buy tickets, though. Once the tickets go live for public sale, I'm going to be hawking them to you guys. And Jess, obviously, you just said, you know, your social battery is not enough to handle something like that, which is fine. I don't blame you. I'm not mad. I am weird, dude. I am so fucking weird about this shit, right? I love, love, love socializing under certain contexts. Love it, love it, love it. And I'm apprehensive about it under certain contexts, but in general, I love socializing, and it usually has a restorative effect on me rather than a depleting effect. But even I have my limit, at which point I'm like, okay, I really want to get back home because I got a bed and some food in the fridge, and I can heat it up and eat it while I sit in bed naked. And that sounds way better than sitting here continuing to get stoned with this cute girl or whatever, right? So like, I guess I'm probably some nature of ambivert, but I feel like it's funny. When I was a kid, like younger than teenager, or, you know, young teenager, I would say, I used to be so antisocial, and I would classify myself as an introvert. Nowadays, I don't know how I could classify myself as anything but an extrovert. Look at what I do for a living, you know? This is extroverted as shit. I mean, it's perhaps a version of extroversion that is not typically available to a human being, but whatever, I think it still counts. And regardless, I'm always up for and interested in socializing with other people. Honest observation, most people I meet are very uneducated and mean. Why would it make sense that a system elected by this majority be good or serve my interests? This is why people say democracy is dead. Because if democracy was functioning properly, and there were no doubts about it, then I would have a ready answer, and it would be so quick and easy. But I'm actually having to think about it. I'll credit you with that. What was your name? Navert? Yeah, I'll credit you with that. Why would that serve your interests? I don't know that it would. To get us back on that, in fact, your question actually puts me back on track of what we were talking about. The democratic system can only serve the needs of the populace if people are participating actively, and the systems of education and cultural osmosis around them are things that like actually improve their knowledge and make them better people, more well-rounded people. But that's kind of what I was saying earlier, is that democracy cannot die truly and really, because it is always something that can re-emerge under the right conditions. That was my whole argument. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Democracy and the idea of trying to get people to participate in their own governance, and even the anarcho-syndicalist vision that I push for in our far-flung future. I think these things are 100% achievable and dependent on the material circumstances surrounding the time in which any given activist is doing their work. Here, let me make you feel better about this, Navert. Let me ask you this, Navert, and you just answer your first impulse. Is life better today in 2026 than it was in, say, 1936? No, let's do 1916. Just to make it a smooth 100 years. Or, I guess that'd be over 100 years. Whatever, we'll still do it. Do you think life is better today in 2026 than it was in 1916? Sorry, not trying to be a smartass, just my experience. I did not think you were trying to be a smartass. And if anybody in chat thought you were trying to be a smartass, cut it out, because I don't think they were. I think they are genuinely having doubts about this project because they're noticing what a lot of other people like Bosch and, Tiny Desu were talking about earlier, which is democracy dead? I don't think so, because I don't think that a concept like democracy can truly die. And maybe in that way, I really am the last true living liberal. Or maybe I stand side by side by Bosch in that belief. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell sometimes, given his content and his output. But putting that aside, I think that democracy is still achievable. I think it's, I can't think of the name of the history professor who put it this way, but there's a Harvard, I think he's a Harvard history or law professor or law history. I can't remember which specific specialty, but I'm thinking it's history. There's this Harvard history professor that is interviewed in Fahrenheit. It's either Fahrenheit 9/11 or Fahrenheit 11/9 by Michael Moore. And he talks about how democracy is not so much a goal, it's not so much like a goal to be achieved as it is a thing we are striving towards. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it very, very wrong. And sometimes we go a little closer, and sometimes we go a little farther. But I think that, number one, this system is uniquely adapted to those kinds of, swings towards anti-democratic behavior and tendencies in power, and then those swings back out of it pretty easily without fundamental and transformative changes to the government structure at its core. Dude, I dropped my blunt. What the fuck? I dropped my roach, and I'm so sad. I dropped my roach. Where did it go? And the smell of it is haunting me like a goddamn ghost. This is some bullshit. The corrupted logic of a drunk. If I just hold the flashlight closer to the place where I think the thing is, it shall appear to me. Democracy used to be a good idea, now it's changed, and now everyone has a different definition of what it should be. Everyone's always had a different definition of what democracy should be. That's kind of the whole point. That's the whole idea. That's why it's a good idea, too. Fundamentally at its core, the idea of democracy is not simply, just by itself, the idea that people should be allowed to participate in the decisions that determine their governance. That's not democracy. Like, there's a specific term to refer to that, and I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. But there's like a more specific term that refers to just that feature of democracy. That's just one feature of it, right? A democracy is also supposed to feature robust public education and enough of a social safety net to prevent people from becoming so destitute that they no longer have a clear head about what decisions they should make. And I genuinely think that under such auspices, lots of wonderful things can happen. Phoebe, we need to swap numbers. Hit me up on Discord. You still got my Discord name, right? Yep, I think so. Pretty sure. I never unadd anybody on Discord, so... Unless they're like a troll or something and they start spamming me or whatever. But I usually don't unadd people. Even if they piss me off on another server or in chat or whatever. I don't know if that's like a weird thing, but I feel like I relate to Paul and TJ and a lot of people that would consider themselves like very early millennials or late Gen X when they talk about ribbing their friends and having a thick skin and not worrying about that kind of thing as much and not taking personal feuds that happen under one context into every other context, I guess. Because it's something I hear people from that generation espousing frequently, and it's not something I usually hear people my age talking about. Okay, let me see here. To answer your question, I'd be way worse off in the 1920s or 30s. I hope we can invent something new that protects us and ensures our freedom. I think we were born free and everyone tries to convince us to surrender our freedom for comfort or security. No, you were literally 100% right. Literally, Navert, I desperately want you to look into a philosopher named Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y, Murray Bookchin. Literally, Bookchin. B-O-O-K-C-H-I-N. Murray Bookchin is an anarchist thinker who has talked extensively about the limitations of democracy and what kind of activism needs to be undertaken and engaged in a democratic system to ensure that it doesn't slip into fascism. Because that's another aspect of democracy that is not one of the things that is codified in the ideal, but is exemplified in how societies have progressed over the last 250 years. Democracy needs active guidance towards a better society if it is to avert fascism. Liberal democracies under capitalism that are not guided actively by activists and active participants within civil society towards a more anti-capitalist model will trend to the right. In other words, an unguided liberal democracy under capitalism slowly but surely drifts to the right and is eventually captured entirely by far-right interests. It has to be actively shepherded. But that's why I think it's a good idea, right? Because I genuinely believe that if you fulfill the ideals of democracy as envisioned by some of the best thinkers who've talked about it, where you've got an abundant education system that provides people with a good understanding of how things work, and you've got cultural osmosis to make sure people have like a cultural message that backs it up as well, and you start implementing more social safety nets so that people don't fall so destitute that they become stressed and incomprehensible and inconsolable. I genuinely think that if you achieve that, high civic participation and all that other shit, the natural outcome of achieving that state is to continue on to like a market socialist society and then eventually an anarcho-syndicalist society. But it has to be shepherded that way. No democracy starts out like that. No liberal democracy starts out like that. We have not seen one that has started out. So it has to be shepherded in that direction to where it can be used as a vehicle for the achievement of truly bold ideas. Weed for me is like a blanket against how hardcore my senses get blasted from too many things. I feel that, Tiny Desu. Whenever I smoke, I'm like, hell yeah. Not as aware, like I'm not, it's not that I'm not as aware, but it's like they don't grate on me as bad. Does that make sense? Sometimes when I'm not stoned, I can feel like everything is fucking grating on me. Like the heat is grating on me. The feeling of my bed is grating on me. The feeling of this chair is grating. The amount of sound, everything is just so much. And it takes such a high degree of management to make it not that. But then I smoke a little weed and everything's a little more manageable. I genuinely sometimes believe that cannabis keeps me from developing like some form of OCD or something. Exactly, if it softens the burden of existence, not gonna lie. It does. 100% does. Damn, you guys can see me again now. The fire is burned down to crispy little timbers, but I'll put what's left on there and then put this on there as well. And we'll see what it does. I don't think I have many more sticks I can put on there, but I'll see what I can scrounge up. I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption 2, and I kind of feel like an RDR2 character right now, just sitting by the campfire. Dude, I did not know how much that game was gonna fucking speak to me, but it really does. Really does. Oh my god. I will say this much. I've never played a more beautiful game in my life. I literally, I look at some of the vistas in that game, and I'm just like, that's beautiful. Like, it's just, like, literally, Red Dead is able to somehow, like, the people who made that game, Rockstar, was somehow able to capture perfectly what it is like to experience sunset east of the Rockies in somewhere that's kind of mountainous with big plateaus and mesas and verdant valleys. Has the opposite effect on me, makes things a lot worse. I went from smoking a QP a month to nothing, then tried it again, turned all my issues up to 10. Yeah, that's the thing. Once you get up to a super high tolerance, and then you cut back down to nothing, you gotta realize you're giving your body a hard reset. A lot of people don't realize that, though. Cannabis does not take long to reset in your body. Like, you can take a 3-week-long tolerance break and make it like your body has never smoked weed functionally before. You'll still remember the feeling, And so you might not have the same reactions, and you might not, like if you had bad reactions or whatever, you might not have those, but it can definitely, if you're unprepared for it, it can get in the way of some things. It ain't for everyone too. Yeah, that's another thing. I'll hear weed getting recommended pretty widely, but it's not always the best for everybody. This blunt finna help at the DMV? I guess we'll see. You just said it made all your issues turn up to 10, so I guess we'll see. Ticalian Saw with that game is gorgeous. Yeah, I agree. It really fucking is. Having spent a lot of time in northern New Mexico and in like the kind of central part of Colorado and the eastern half of the Rockies, I can't even begin to describe how accurate they are with their portrayal of what that looks like. Hold on. I got some music queued up for whenever the hour turns. Phoebe, my chunky queen. I don't know how I like that. You better apologize. Texas Republicans in power are making weed possession a felony to take votes away from the midterms. Yep, I heard about that. Literally just another attempt by the Republicans to get yet more people disenfranchised. But it's also a move to empower the many different private prison complexes in Texas and the multi-million-dollar lobbying industry that exists for their politicians. Texas politicians are lobbied heavily by private prison corporations who stand to benefit financially tremendously, stand to benefit tremendously in a financial sense from these legislative changes in Texas. So yeah, that's the explanation right there. They're trying to disenfranchise people, and they're trying to give back to their private prison donors. This is how Republican states run, after all. Don't you guys love it? Aren't you guys happy? Are you guys tired of winning yet? What's your honest take on the Christian nationalism movement? You might not like it. If you're a Christian nationalist, probably not going to like it, but I think that it is unironically one of the largest dangers that is posed in our modern day in terms of viable harm being done on a global scale, because the idea of Christian nationalism, the idea that America in particular, right, American Christian nationalism, for example, the idea that America in particular should act in a Christian manner and be beholden to Christian mores is a fundamental part of the movement of people that are helping to justify the needless, illegal, aggressive war on Iran that is being tactically justified and pragmatically justified with arguments about economy and security by the president and the generals and most of the like super front-facing people that have to talk to most of the American public. But when it comes to like the people who were actually involved in these decisions on a deeper level, like the ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, said that Israel could take most of the Middle East, basically, in an interview with Tucker Carlson, I think it was. So that goes to show you where American politicians' minds are at on this issue. But yeah, Christian nationalism is a way bigger problem in America than Islamic nationalism or fundamentalism could hope to be in the next century. Because Christian nationalism is actively helping to foment and justify a needless aggressive war in the Middle East, all while claiming to be the virtuous ones and talking about how much they love and cherish the value of life and all this other shit. You know, I will say, and this is totally random about nothing, it's literally just about my fire pit, but, like, so, there was this pen, we used to have rabbits in it, we used to have chickens in it, we've had all kinds of things in it, but it fell over when a storm happened last year, and we were never able to set it back up. There's just no good way to do it, basically. It just basically has to be disassembled on the spot, and then, you know, we'll salvage what we can off of it, and burn what we can, I guess. But, you know, how it fell down made part of what I figured would be a halfway decent windbreak if I just rolled over the old table that used to sit on the porch that's now been thrown out here to eventually be burned over next to it. And then I figured out tonight, you know, like there's another chair that's also got to be burned at some point that I could throw over here. And if I set it all upright, I can create a pretty good fire break. And I did. And it has worked literally perfectly all fucking night. The whole time we've been sitting out here, it's been working absolutely beautifully. I haven't had the smoke go into my face because, like, even if the wind picks up, it, like, can't get a hold of the smoke at the ground level. It can only get to the smoke at, like, my eye level. So it's getting a hold of the smoke in a straight column at my eye level. But by the time, because smoke is so much hotter than regular air, by the time it gets to where it would be at me, it has already risen past me. So, like, anytime it does blow over this way, it creates, like, a diagonal wave of air rather than allowing it to come straight towards me and just snuff me out. So I feel pretty clever. Can Islam fight a law saying that their priests are mandatory reporters? Highly doubt it. Yeah, no, there's no way. And maybe in specific communities. Somebody asked me earlier to talk about the, like, Muslim invasion in Dearborn, Michigan. Dude, there is no Muslim invasion in Dearborn, Michigan. Muslim people have been living in Dearborn, Michigan for, like, fucking 40 years now. It's been a long-ass time, okay? And let us not forget that the main reason why Henry Ford originally bought Dearborn's newspaper was to spread anti-Semitic propaganda. So Dearborn does not exactly have some pleasant history of its own in regards to racial issues. So the fact that it's now being weaponized as a city full of Muslims is just hilarious to me. Listen, Americans, can I just be real with you guys? Y'all gotta get the fuck over this, like, Muslim fear. It's retarded. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't track with reality. It's not good for you. And with that, I knew you guys would like that. And I got some geese accompanying it. Some resident geese. Geese are so beautiful. I could literally sit. Am I becoming an old woman or something? Because I swear to God, I could literally sit and watch birds and nature. I think I could do it for fucking 17 hours a day and not get sick of it. I think if my whole life was just riding horseback across America and camping when it got too late to hold my eyes open anymore and enjoying mornings like this, that's why I traveled. You want to know what? That's the real truth of it. I wanted to see wild places, wildlife I'd never seen before. I wanted to camp in places I knew I'd probably never get to camp in again. I wanted to experience beautiful mornings like this, and I knew that there was just a specific set of conditions that could elicit that. And God damn it, I did. I went into the wild because I wanted to live deliberately. I can't remember exactly who I'm quoting, but that's a quote from some very intelligent fucker back in the day. Ocarina of Time remake, bigger than GTA 6. I can't say, like, I'm kind of excited for GTA 6 because it's been so long in the making, but I'm also not, like, I'm not super excited about it because I know that they did a bunch of union busting in furtherance of getting this game out faster, I guess, and not paying their people as much for it. And that's just, that shit doesn't vibe with me, because as a gamer that has been participating in this online debate as to, like, the ethics of crunch time and how much employees should be paid, how much time it should take them to release a game, I'm in the camp that it's fine to wait for a game if that means the employees are paid well and you get a better, more quality product. And I don't know if that's what we're getting with GTA 6. If the union busting is any indication, it's going to be a rushed piece of shit with tons of glitches that has to be patched for months afterwards. Which I can tolerate in a game like Ark, which offers such a fucking unique gaming experience, right? But I don't know if I can tolerate it in a game like GTA 6, where you can get more or less the same thing in the last fucking game of the generation. It's going to have to be an absolutely transformative experience for me to look past their union busting, and even then I'm not going to be able to look past it. What are your pronouns? She, her, hers. Thank you for asking. Sorry if it's not super clear. I wish YouTube would let me put it in, like, the title line or something, but I gotta get to bed. Phoebe, hit me on Discord, we can get something going. Yeah, for sure, I'd love to. You know me, always down for collaboration. Olive Garden? What about Olive Garden? I like Olive Garden. Is that wrong of me? You know, one thing I've had to accept about myself, and being friends with TJ, for example, and being friends with some other people throughout my life, is that I just don't... I've got slop food tastes, apparently, compared to people with, like, what you would consider reasonably decent and, I don't know how to put it, discerning. Compared to people you would describe as having a very discerning palate, I feel like I have a very undiscerning palate. Because I feel like I will pretty much love anything with very few reservations, as long as it manages to meet a few like basic guidelines, you know, like Casey's Pizza. I like it because it's like when you get their pizza fresh, and I really do believe that the only fucking way with DoorDash and everything being like it is, like I guess you could fucking, like if there's a Casey's in your area that still has Casey's delivery, then you can trust Casey's store-based delivery. But I wouldn't trust a Casey's DoorDash order unless I paid the extra fee to get it delivered priority, which is absurd, by the way. But if I get a Casey's pizza and it's totally fresh, pick it up in the store myself, I've got a short ride home, and everybody starts digging into it, I think that that is some of the best pizza on the planet. Because it's fucking greasy, but not too greasy. The cheese is real cheese, even if it does, you know, kind of, I don't know if it's like the thing that they use to keep the cheese from clumping together or what, but it does kind of have a weird way that it sets if you let the pizza set too long. It's not the best pizza to have reheated or, although, I mean, it is pretty good if you reheat it in the oven. But, point is, I think it's some of the best pizza you can have if it's totally fresh and you're eating it right then. Because, like, the pepperoni recipe that they use, for some reason, is just, like, drop dead delicious. I don't know how else to put it. I feel like their cheese is always generously poured on. And the crust is always uniform. And it's, like, thin without being too thin. And crusty without being too crusty. I don't know how to put it. It's just, like, perfect to me. It's like the perfect slice. I also love Hump Brothers Pizza, and there's some people that think that that's just dog slop, basically. You owe me a Casey's Pizza, don't be a dick. I can't get you a Casey's Pizza? What do you mean? How the fuck am I gonna get you a Casey's Pizza? What, am I gonna get off at the fucking one of the train stations, run over to Casey's real quick, come back before my train departs? Maybe. I guess maybe if I find out that I'm gonna have a layover where I've got to get on a different train, then maybe I'd do that. Dude. That's gonna be the craziest fucking shit I've ever done in my life. Because it's gonna be like a 2 or 3 day long train ride. I think it's like a 2.5 day long train ride, basically. So, I'm gonna basically be spending like 5 days getting there, and I'm gonna reserve like 3 days for the meetup itself. Just insane. Don't actually do that. Yeah, no, I don't think I could do that. I think I would probably miss my train if I did that. Where are you going? To the Seattle Deep Fat Fried meetup in early December. I will let you guys know when tickets go public. 5 days by train sounds so cool, like an old-timey adventure. That's kind of how I'm trying to look at it. Because I'm thinking it's going to be like 2.5 days there, 2.5 days back. And 5 days by train does indeed make me feel, especially because where I'm going to fucking Washington State, which at one time was just like America's Northwest Territory, like basically. I'm basically going out to Indian Territory, you know? I know that's fucked up to say, but you get what I'm trying to say. You get the joke. Only difference is the trains don't look as cool. You know what? There's this channel that I absolutely hate on YouTube. And that's because she says a lot of shit like it's just absolute fact that is like literally just an opinion of hers. And I hate that shit. I hate it. I hate it when people talk like factually about inherently subjective subject matter. But and the channel's name is The War on Beauty, if you're wondering. It's this like drop dead gorgeous girl who makes this a bunch of content that, in my opinion, kind of seems like it's, you know, like incel bait, maybe. I don't. It's kind of hard to tell because a lot of it's like about the downfall of Western civilization and shit like that. But I will say one thing I've heard her say, or one kind of vibe I've heard from that channel that I feel like I maybe agree with on some level, is that it seems like modern society has kind of foregone the idea of beauty and things that are memorable to participate in and be around and see on the street, in favor of things that are sleek, modern, easy to maintain and clean, functional and utilitarian, but not very aesthetically pleasing in a lot of cases. Now, I think the difference between me and her is that I would say that this is not necessarily a truism. It's something that applies to certain places, certain things, certain experiences, but it is not universal. There's still lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of beautiful places. And some of them, believe it or not, have been built in the last 10 years. I think she confuses the kind of corporatization of aesthetics that has happened with a lot of big conglomerate corporate identities and entities with like some general broad societal wide rejection of beauty, while not realizing that her rhetoric goes towards fueling the same type of people who keep those people in power. Like, the people responsible for the destruction of the things that she finds beautiful are the tech oligarchs that worship rhetoric like hers. I'm gonna have to make a response video to this bitch. I'm gonna have to. That just crystallized it in my head, because that's the problem I have with her. I finally landed on it. Because on the one hand, she's very attractive. And it's very hard for me to disagree with someone that I find pretty. But I cannot help but be rubbed the wrong way by her criticisms. And I think the reason is what I was just saying. Well, she's talking about how modern art and ugly subways reflect a downfall of civilization, and a downfall of Western civilization in particular. What she's failing to realize is that that rhetoric is the favorite rhetoric of the very people who are responsible for that debeautification, for the cheapening of human life. Might see if I can do that instead of an Asmongold video. Because, God, I don't want to cover Asmongold. But I feel like I have a crystallized criticism. See, I feel like the criticism I have of Asmongold is so fucking rote and has been said so many times and should be obvious to anyone who watches for more than 5 minutes. And I kind of feel like a lot of people who get caught up in it are kind of lost. I kind of feel like Asmongold is pretty far down the pipeline towards believing anti-human, far-right bullshit. So part of me is like, what am I going to say, man? He's a useless grifter that never talks about anything actually substantive. The few times when he does broach the substantive topics, he's got the worst takes on earth. they're all in line with the genocidal narrative and with like genocidal rhetoric, and not just genocidal rhetoric, but like the worst rhetoric you've ever heard. And he's clearly doing it because he has found a niche in which elevating that kind of content makes him a lot of money, right? And there's no philosophy to Asmongold. That's what I think makes it so difficult for me to latch on to that as a topic for a video essay, because I started on one and then I kind of got stalled out because I was like, there's nothing to this fucking chud. There's nothing to him. Maybe that should be the topic of the goddamn video essay. There's nothing to him. This is an empty personality you're following. This is a motherfucker who believes whatever his audience shows him that he needs to believe. He's just the side of a lol cow. Motherfuckers are just too stupid to realize it. Maybe that should be the fucking point. But at least with the war on beauty, I actually feel like I can criticize Julia Davis. Because I feel like she is deeply philosophical in the arguments that she makes. She doesn't do the kind of like rage-baity, clickbaity kind of content that Asmon does. And more people seem to be taking her seriously. And I think a lot of it is for reasons that don't have very much to do, let's say, with the actual veracity of the things she's saying. I think it's a combination. Well, you know what? No, I don't think it's a combination of anything. I think it's Jordan Peterson effect. I'm not going to be a sexist. I think it's literally Jordan Peterson effect. Jordan Peterson is hot. Maybe he's not as hot now that he's a fucking crazy old man that's been driven insane by benzos and mold. But he used to be, like, actually attractive. Like, literally. I would have let 90s Jordan Peterson top me. Not even kidding. There was a time when Jordan Peterson had, like, a fucking devil-may-care goth attitude about him and a fucking look about him. And it was powerful and attractive. And the same, I think, is true of this girl in a different direction. She is incredibly pretty. She knows perfectly how to structure her outfits to go along with the environment that she's going to be recording in. She really does have a good eye for what is aesthetically pleasing. But I also think that what is aesthetically pleasing on an average basis is more or less just what is synchronous and symmetrical and perfect, or as near to it as possible. And I think that there's a lot of beauty in imperfection, in the attempt, in people's various interpretations. In fact, I think there's more beauty in that than there is in a lot of classically beautiful things. And I also don't think that any of this shit has a goddamn thing to do with the collapse of Western civilization, other than the fact that the people who are actively working to collapse Western civilization fucking love the rhetoric that she spouts about how everything is getting uglier, and about how there are this obscure group of people out there who are trying to make everything worse for you, and about how the death of religion is actually a bad thing, and about how atheists make, these fucking mistakes that lead them down bad philosophical roads or whatever, right? Like, that's a problem that is very easy for me to crystallize, and I feel like maybe I should start writing that. Asmongold is the neckbeard Jordan Peterson? Yeah, literally. Literally, he's the fucking neckbeard Jordan Peterson. There's nothing to him. No, you know what? That's insulting Jordan Peterson. Because Jordan Peterson used to be fucking smart. I've never watched an Asmon video where I thought, this guy's got a fucking good head on his shoulders. Not one time. And I've watched some of his early shit before he was big. Like when he was just like an up-and-coming kind of YouTuber that nobody really knew about. When he was like at my level, basically. I've watched some of his content from back then. And it's not impressive. It is not the content of a deep intellectual, I'll put it that way. Have a good morning, Opie. I'm gonna take a nap. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm eventually gonna have to get off here. I'm so fucking sleepy. Holy shit, I'm tired. I've been up for like almost 24 hours at this point, though. So that tracks. And I feel like if I stay up, I'm gonna make myself sick. So I don't know how much longer I'll stay on here myself. Would it sound weird if I said this is my favorite kind of environment to sleep in? I feel like it would sound weird to a lot of people, but it is. I'll just be real with you. I'm so tired right now, and I'm uniquely tired for being in front of a camera. And the reason is because I'm literally in my happy place, basically. Not literally. I could stand for it to not be Mississippi. But if it was a cooler climate and I had a little warmer clothes on to match, and this fire and everything, man, I don't even know if I would have lasted this long. I'd probably already be curled up in a pile somewhere. I love the sound. I cannot, I don't know if I've got enough words to explain how much I love the feeling of going to sleep with the sound of crickets and all the little night bugs and frogs and everything surrounding you. And I can't tell you how beautiful it is when you go to bed at a proper hour on a night like that to wake up with the sound of birds or whatever's in the neighborhood, whether they're chickens or birds or whatever. Oh, man. I love it. It's a cacophony of noise. You literally, like, you can pinpoint certain things because they're close enough. But then there's other things that are singing at the same time, and it's just like so hard to tell. It's so hard to tell what exactly you're hearing and how many of them you're hearing. And I just, oh God, it's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. That's why I never understand people who say they, like, absolutely hate living in the country and don't see any redeeming qualities about it. Because I can understand hating it from a certain direction. I kind of hate it sometimes. But if you're like, I don't see any redeeming qualities, man, you're just saying, not paying attention. Right? This is the redeeming quality. Listen to this shit. It's the sound of an ecosystem in balance. Relative balance. You know why I sing the Northwest Passage so often? Because I think it evokes in my mind a memory of a time when not everything was known. When comparatively little was explored. There are settler diaries, and I believe even the diaries of Lewis and Clark have the same claim in them as well, that back in those days, when people first started exploring the West, the salmon runs would populate the creeks so heavily that they would make the horses afraid to cross. They described flocks of pigeons and other birds flying overhead. In one case, a flock darkened the sky for days with its passing. Or for hours, I can't remember. Hours, I think. Just a massive, super long flock of birds. They talked about the cacophony of the trees. They talked about the many different sounds to be found in the different parts of America. And how absolutely bounding with life this continent was. And the only reason most of them wrote it down was so that they'd be able to tell people back in Washington, D.C. how to best exploit them. People ask why leftists ask for such radical change and shit, and it's just like, this is why, you know? Objectively, this is why. Cop car. I have to get back to cleaning. Have a good morning. Hope to see you on another night. Yeah, no, for sure. I appreciate the conversation. Sorry I kind of went off there rambling for a minute. Kind of surprised that there's 80 people watching right now. If you guys are enjoying the stream and you're enjoying sitting here listening to me yapping, consider supporting the channel. This is an audience-funded project, and everything you donate goes towards improving the channel and paying my bills. So if you'd like to support the continued creation of this content, feel free to sign up for a membership or donate via Super Chat or Cash App, which you can find down below in the description. Why not package your argument into common sense and make it about being fair for everyone? We're not even really making arguments right now. I've just kind of been ranting about my own political philosophy and kind of philosophy in general. I don't even remember where I was at right this second. I started off somewhere talking about democracy and ended up somewhere talking about some other shit. And maybe not trying to shoot people on the right is kind of not helpful. Motherfucker, I ain't never shot nobody. Huh? Don't put that hoodoo on me. Bitch. What do you mean I shoot people? I ain't never shot a fucking thing more sentient than a deer in my life. And that's despite having once been employed in a capacity where I would have actually been able to kill somebody had they, like, done the right combination of behaviors. I'm not. The left just have a tendency to kill when they can't get their way. It's not helpful. Okay. What evidence is that based on, frickin' toast? What evidence are you basing this supposed tendency of all leftists on? Happy to see a stream of you outside for once. Yeah, I know. It's also nice and early in the morning, so lots of people that don't normally get to participate are probably going to get to participate this time. Your surroundings sound extremely peaceful. That must be so lovely. Oh, it is. Oh, it's just as lovely as it seems, trust me. How many attempts on the current president life have there been, and how many were there on Biden? Do you really call that one an attempt on the president's life? Like, you don't know where the fuck that dude was running, you know? Like, you don't necessarily know where the fuck that guy was running. I don't know, like, a dude getting caught trying to do some shit does not, in my mind, an actual uptick in violence make. And as far as the dude who shot Trump, shot his ear in Butler, Pennsylvania, wasn't that guy a MAGA? Wasn't that guy some disenfranchised MAGA dork? Oh, well, regardless, I don't support assassinations of any kind. I don't think that they are pragmatically effective and practical, but I also don't think they're moral things to do, you know? So it's not just a pragmatic objection in my case, it is also a moral objection. I don't think that an assassination needs to be undertaken to change, like, the conditions of a beleaguered people. Even as some people on the extreme left were celebrating Charlie Kirk's murder, so? Charlie Kirk celebrated plenty of horrible things. And Donald Trump, the president that Charlie Kirk looked up to super highly and helped get elected in 2024, made extensive fun of the death of Rob Reiner, an anti-MAGA director who died last year. So, you want to try making an effort to square that circle? How it's perfectly fine for Donald Trump to make fun of the dead when he's doing it to an anti-MAGA media figure, but it's not okay for people on the far left to make fun of Charlie Kirk when he dies. That seems like a hypocrisy. I personally think you've got the right to make fun of whatever the fuck you please. Call me a free speech absolutist. Yes, I am in the United States. Trump himself has made fun of people dying too, yeah, 100%. I'm in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. I'm sorry. How's the meth down there these days? Still good and pure, like the old shit used to be? You're all lacing it with fentanyl these days. You know where Elsinore is? Not off the top of my head. I don't remember. But I'm originally from Cape, so... I'm familiar with a lot of the different areas around southeast Missouri. Well, yeah, when you said you were from Poplar Bluff, I knew you'd know where Cape was without me having to say Cape Girardeau. Yeah. Your lifestyle was a manufactured government psyop. Congrats. What evidence do you possibly have of that? When we've got evidence of trans people existing for thousands of years. Like, your evidence is going to have to compete. Like, it's not like your evidence exists in a vacuum. You understand this, right? Your evidence needs to compete against the overwhelming majority of medical scientists, biologists, archaeologists, anthropologists, etc., people actually involved in science that say, not only are trans people real, but trans people have been around for a very long time. So whatever evidence you present is going to have to be better than their evidence. Look at you, you're running from yourself. I am running towards my future. I ain't running away from a goddamn thing. You just hate to see a bitch fucking being happy, don't you? That's the problem. That's the problem you got. You got a problem seeing a bitch be happy. And I feel bad for you, because that sucks. I wish that you could be okay seeing a girl be happy and herself living her own life, having an enjoyable time. But on the other hand, I ain't your goddamn mama. So if you haven't learned the fucking very basic lesson of human empathy by now, then what on earth are the chances that I'm gonna be the one to teach you? Your mother failed, your grandma failed, but I'm gonna be the success? Sounds a little unlikely if you ask me. Okay. What are you doing, Phoebe? Oh, I was stoking up the fire. Just stoking up the fire. Oh. Dear sir, I read your comment and it's the worst comment I've ever read in my life, and I'm worse for having read it. I wish I didn't. You just gave me Pascal's wager. You have actually a lot to lose by believing in God. Because belief in God is not sufficient in the mind of any Christian. Every Christian I've ever met demands a specific regiment of obedience, belief, ritual, etc. to qualify as a real Christian. So it's not merely belief. That is the, at least that is the main criticism that I've come to without, like, and I've listened to lots of atheist debates, but weirdly enough, Pascal's wager never seems to come up when someone's actually trying to defend their bad religious arguments over voice. And I think that's because the arguments become obvious as bad the longer you talk about them openly. But I, like, the biggest issue I've always gotten with the Pascal's wager thing, even without having heard it argued much, is you're not just asking for belief. Nobody, when they make Pascal's wager, is actually just asking for belief. They're asking you to live your life by Christian edicts. They're asking you to do things that Christians want you to do, to live your life by Christian moral virtues and shit. I don't want to be stuck in heaven with Christian evangelicals. Yeah, who can blame you? They're a weird bunch, from what I can tell. Well, that hypocritical, you're out here doing drugs. Wait, what's the hypocrisy? Let's just say you're right. Let's just say I'm out here doing drugs. I guess alcohol is technically a drug. Let's just say you're right. What hypocrisy? What is the hypocrisy there? Because I didn't say shit about drugs. Where's the drugs and why was I not invited? I don't know, Gio. I straight don't know. I'm out of tobacco. I'm almost out of cannabis. I got a little bit of liquor left, but I'm even running low on that, honestly. The provisions are running dry, comrades. If I had a partner or something and they were awake, I'd be texting them to bring me a resupply run. Babe, can you bring me my tobacco bag down here? And, like, maybe another drink? I know, what a catch. Ready mine? Oh boy, Dirtster. I didn't see whatever message you tried to send. Because I read what you said, and you said something about me being hypocritical about doing drugs. And I'm like, what? Even if that is true, I guess alcohol is a drug. What the fuck is the hypocrisy? What are you even talking about? And you didn't provide me with a good answer. All these new terms and categories complicates things a lot. Things were always complicated. These terms and categories actually simplify things a lot more. Sometimes then is useful, but a lot more than we did in the past for sure. A lot more than we were able to when people first started realizing and talking about the experiences that they were feeling in more modern language. It is actually a good thing that we've been able to scientifically codify so many different ways to talk about people who are different. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. No, they were not. No, it's not a new modern thing, like you just said. It's actually something that's been going on for thousands of years. If you're talking about trans people in particular, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but if you're talking about trans people in particular, people like me have been around, as far as we can tell, since before the dawn of civilization. Greetings from Australia. Do you come from a land down under? Women glow and men plunder. Do you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover. What's up from America? I have nothing against trans or gays, so why are you trying to pretend like we're some new modern thing? We're not. We've been around. We've just been suppressed in most of the, societies that consider themselves modern, but trace themselves back to multiple hundreds of year old projects. Nowadays, queer people are not criminalized in the UK. But there was a time less than 100 years ago where we were. Here in America, people that are queer have not been criminalized functionally since the early 2000s or the 90s, I think. But there was a time less than 100 years ago, obviously less than 50 years ago in the case of America, where gay people were still prosecuted widely across all kinds of different states and venues and municipalities. There was a long period of time in America's history where there were a few cities throughout the country where you could go if you were a queer, and you would be accepted, and you would be able to live your life in peace. And there were tons of other places that treated queer people with tremendous disdain, mainly due to religiously inspired bigotries. Slowly but surely, through cultural osmosis and gradual but continuous civic participation and change through that method, we have managed to change that to where now I can live as a trans woman in the Deep South without getting hate crimed. But we still have a very, very, very long way to go. And it hasn't been that long since we didn't have civil rights in any way. There are queer people alive today who are not that old, who remember what it was like to live in an era where their sexuality was criminalized. What is the end goal now that everyone is accepting of everything? Well, that's the thing. Everybody is not accepting of everything. The majority of people in America are fine with trans adults on some level, but even then it's 75%, something like that. And I think that number should probably be higher. And when it gets to more particular issues, like whether or not a trans kid at 12 or 13 should be given puberty blockers, it becomes even hairier. So there's still a tremendous amount of work to be done. There's still a tremendous amount of progress to be made. But why? Because it will improve people's lives. Why does it matter if 100% of the world accepts gays and trans? Oh, I don't think it needs to be 100%. I'm not trying to thought police people. I just think that it needs to be better than 68 or whatever. I think the real number is a little lower than 75. I don't know exactly. I don't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I'm not trying to thought police people. I just want trans people like myself and many of the people that participate in my chat to be safe when we go to a bathroom, or when we go to see a concert somewhere, or if we're just walking down the street. I don't want it to be normalized in any community in America for us to be hate crimed. So 70% of support is pretty bad. If you're looking at the end goal, right? Which I think should be something like 98%, 95%. I would be fine with that. Out of every out of every 100 people you meet, 95 of them are going to be accepting and nice, and 5 of them will be mean and sometimes be rude. And like, I think I would be fine with that, because that would reduce down to even lower statistics of actual encounters. If you're talking about 95.5 versus like the people who are actually anti-trans being the 5%, and the people who are pro-trans being like the 95%. Those pro-trans people that currently represent like 30% of the population, like right now, it's not that common to have a interaction that is hateful based purely on the basis of you being a trans person. But imagine how uncommon it would be if people like just understood and got it, you know? So it's not like hate crimes are committed at the same rate or anything as they used to be. It's just the fact that they are still committed, and the fact that they are still committed in a statistically significant way is important and notable. And if you're wondering like why you're hearing more about it, it's because trans people have been able to find a political voice of our own for the first time basically in our history, really. Like, even when we were participating in the Stonewall riots of the 1970s, or in the 1960s, 70s, I don't remember which decade exactly, I'm too drunk, but when trans people were participating in the very earliest queer riots and pride-related protests, like, we didn't get the credit for that, you know? It was the gay community that got the credit for that. It was the gay and lesbian community that got the credit for that. And trans people don't hold that over their heads. But trans people were fundamentally involved in the process. Just look up Marsha P. Johnson. I think she's the first woman, or was it somebody else? Am I thinking of somebody else? I'm thinking Marsha P. Johnson was the first one to throw a brick at Stonewall, but I may be thinking of somebody else. Point is, trans people were fundamentally involved in the rise of the early Pride movement. We have been involved in the continuation of the Pride movement ever since, and support for us has waxed and waned since then. But I think the general trend is towards support. Phoebe, would you say that right now the spotlight is not on the queer community, but trans people in specific? Yes, 100%. Yeah, like, I feel like normal lesbian and gay people can pretty much, like, get away with, like, just being themselves and being confident without much questioning, being even handsy or whatever with their partners, which I've got no problem with, but, like, I feel like they can do that in a way that trans people are really not able to be that open and confident and out there, I guess. And I think it's fine for people to be out there. I think it's fine for, like, gay people to be visibly queer, right? I think it's fine for queer people to be that way. I just wish that that same leniency would be extended to transgender people. Trans people invented sense with Robert Moog. True. What is her name? Wendy Carlos. Knew I'd remember if I thought about it. What do you mean with being out there? I just mean being visibly queer. That's why I said visibly queer at the end, because I finally figured out what I was trying to say. What do you think is what causes instant hatred and disgust in someone who sees a person walking down the street and harasses and attacks them that are trans? deeply, deeply ingrained hatred that usually stems from childhood. It may be that they are deeply attracted to trans people, but have been punished throughout their whole life for being that way and for expressing those attractions. And when they see a trans person out in public and that person gives them the littlest excuse, isn't nice to them on the train or whatever, then they use that as an opportunity to lash out at this person who they'll never get to fuck, but they can at least fight them and get to know, maybe, for a brief moment, what it's like to be near a trans girl. I think that's it sometimes. I think it's also, people that might be trans themselves, but have been kept in an oppressive environment their whole lives, and have maybe brought some of those oppressive systems into their adulthood, and are therefore not able to express themselves openly, and the same kind of dynamic happens just from a different direction. I'm trans, but honestly I have no clue what queer means. People say it has so many different definitions. I just define queer as anything that isn't straight, which I think makes it very easy, right? Anything that isn't straight and heteronormative, you know? So it's like, if it's like cishet, then like, if it's like cisnormative and heteronormative, then it's not queer. But if it's like challenging the basis of that, then I think it probably qualifies. So like bisexuality is something I would term under the queer movement, or like bisexual representation and advocacy, certainly. And I would say that bisexual people are queer people, as used by the modern queer community. Same thing for gay people, lesbians, trans people, asexual people, ace, etc. Now, there are some people that are naturally going to disagree with that definition, but if you look hard enough, you can find somebody that will disagree with any definition of any word. Just ask somebody what a Boston butt is. What's up, Ms. Disky? Is it usually like a father who beats their kid for being gay, or something that then takes out on every gay trans person in the future? I think it's the former. I think it's someone who was beaten in their childhood, or that saw one of their siblings beaten very harshly for being queer. And maybe they've dealt with those feelings themselves. And it's not just abuse, right? You can handle being abused the fuck out of. And if you... I don't know how to put it. I'm inclined to say that it is them just getting the fuck beat out of them, right? But on the other hand, there are people who go through that and come out the other side openly queer, and indeed advocates for the queer community. So I don't really know for sure. I really don't. But you have certainly set before me a puzzle. What I'm trying to figure out is what causes someone to not only dislike something, but dislike it so much to cause instant direct harm, even if it means going to prison. Well, that's not usually how hate crimes happen, you see, Matt. Not in the modern day. Maybe there was a time in which that was kind of like the thing, but these days, a hate crime is usually something that happens after the marginalized person of whatever community is getting lynched steps, quote, out of line. Whatever the behavioral limitation is in that context. For Emmett Till, it was whistling at a white lady. For a trans girl, it may mean that she takes a dude home without telling him that she's trans. For a Mexican person, it may be just getting into an argument on the street with some white racist. But there are a number of these different, like, behavioral, I don't want to call them fuck-ups, but these little things that could happen, that when a marginalized community does one of them, makes certain people in society feel like they have carte blanche to punish those people. Like they are justified in whatever impassioned reaction they have. Because even in a moment of passion, it takes a tremendous amount for you to completely lose control. I wonder sometimes if some of these people didn't maybe lose control for a second, regain it, and then decide, you know what, I've gone this far, and I've always wanted to, you know. And that's what I think is more common, sadly, is that people do a hate crime, not necessarily because they were looking for a black person to lynch or a gay person to beat up or whatever, but because somebody miffed them and they saw an opportunity to weaponize their existence as a marginalized person to make them an easy victim. That shit is insane, and I've seen videos of it happening. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure it happens sometimes. I'm just saying most of the time when you see a hate crime go down, and two, keep in mind, a lot of videos you see don't have the complete context. But, like, a lot of times you see a hate crime go down, I'm not saying that anybody started it or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's usually a flow of events. I'm not sure how it is in America, as I'm not from there, but where I'm at, acceptance is getting better, but also worse at the same time. But I don't really experience it because I'm fairly passable. Yeah, no, that's valid. I don't really experience that much of it when I'm out. Like, I don't really experience any real transphobia, as near as I can tell, when I'm out in the town just doing chores or whatever. I don't know why. I certainly get a lot here in the chat. Not all the time, but you get what I mean. When the chat's really popping. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, guys, because I'm so tired and sleepy. Thank you guys for hanging out with me a ton. If you enjoyed the stream, please consider engaging in any way that you possibly can. Comment, like, subscribe, you know the deal. Make sure that bell is hit to all. And also, if you enjoy my content, I am an audience-funded channel, so I appreciate your direct donations through Cash App or through Super Chat or Super Thanks. You can literally leave a Super Chat on a video or an uploaded live stream VOD after the fact. You can do that. It's allowed. And if you've enjoyed this stream and you've got a little money burning a hole in your pocket, maybe consider doing so. With that being said, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys later.